Here's something you need. Once I get these seams done, this wall, this over here is just one little seam here. I had to saw this much off of a 80-inch door. Alright, if you look inside of it, just a cheap door. It's got cardboard in it. I decided I wanted to buy a small place on a lake that I could just walk out my door, make a few steps, get in a boat and go fishing. Kind of a man cave thing. Not to live in it all the time, but something that was comfortable. And the grandkids could use it, and my daughters could use it. And I was looking around for places in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I live in Michigan, but I live in a very south part of Michigan, right off of, just north of the Indiana line. And I kept looking at properties up there, but then I got to thinking, at my age, I'm not going to be wanting to drive 10 hours to go to a cabin, just to use it for a week or something and then come back home. So I thought maybe I'll look around someplace close, someplace that I really liked. And it was a place close to Albion, Indiana, that I used to fish when I was a kid. I grew up fishing in those lakes around there. And I always thought it would be nice to live there. In fact, one time I tried to buy a house there when I first got out of the Navy. And I backed out because at that time I didn't really know much about fixing up houses. And it was pretty beat up. But nothing like this thing. I went looking for a cheap place. I decided I would just take some of my 401k, and instead of just looking at, stocks and stuff, bonds, whatever you have it in, it wasn't doing me any good because I couldn't use it. So I knew about what I could afford. Well, it wasn't very much. So I had to buy something small or something without a house on it. I had a camper. I thought, well, maybe I could buy a little property on a lake and just stick my camper on there. Anyway, long story short, I went looking and I got into Zillow, and I found this little cabin, not a cabin. I found a house, a cottage on a lake, close to Albion, Indiana, and I looked at it on the Google map, and it was most of the lakes around there are interconnected with creeks. So usually, if it's good fishing in one lake, it's probably pretty good fishing in the other one. So I didn't have to zero in on exactly the lake that I really liked it. So I found a cabin or a cottage on a lake, and it was, not expensive. So one sentence, I think it was a Sunday or something. It was rainy. It was in the fall, Michigan weather. And it was only 2 hours away, so I just decided I was going to go over there the next day and look at it. I wasn't going to call the realtor. I was just going to go look at it. I didn't figure I'd ever actually do it. So I went over there, and I found the house, and it was just awful. It was just, it didn't have a bathroom, okay? And it didn't have enough land to even put in indoor plumbing. And I knew that wasn't going to work for me, okay? Just wasn't. I might as well just get in my camper and camp and drive around the lake after lake. But at my age, driving around, dragging a camper is hard work. You're constantly going to the dump stations, or you're constantly have to buy gas and you don't know where you're at. And if you go out of state, you don't have a license to fish. So anyway, I looked at this place. I didn't like it. But I liked the lake, and it was, the neighbors seemed most of the neighbors were pretty friendly that I met there. Just only met a couple of them because I was only there for a few minutes. But anyway, I was walking along the lake shore there, and up on a little rise, there was a log cabin. There was a light on the porch. I thought that's kind of what I'm looking for. Not really a log cabin, but anyway, I slipped, almost fell down, and I looked down, and I was standing on a realtor's sign. Come to find out, that log cabin was also for sale. It wasn't on Zillow, or it wasn't in my price range, or what I thought was my price range. So I didn't know if anybody lived there or not. So I was walking back to the car thinking, well, I'd written down the name of the realtor and the number on that sign that I stepped on. And a guy came driving up this road that I was walking on. He said, "What you doing?" He was just making sure I wasn't going to tear something up, I guess. I started talking to him. Nice guy, real nice guy. Turned out we were pretty good friends. So I said, "Well, I was looking at this house over here, but I didn't like it because then I told him the whole story, just like I told you." And I said, "But I saw a sign over there laying along the road, along the shore, and it was out on straight out from that log cabin over there." He goes, "Well, that's for sale." I said, "Well," and he says, "It's got a bathroom in it. It's got everything you want. What you just told me." I said, "Well, I'll have to call him and see what it is, how much it costs." So I called him and I made an appointment to go look at it. And I took my wife with me. She was with me at that time too. She wasn't going to let me spend a bunch of money that on something stupid like that. So, long story short, I called him and made an appointment and went over there, looked at it, and I loved the cabin. It was a real log cabin. It's made out of D logs. The logs on the inside were originally flat, and the ones on the outside are logs. And when they build a house like that, and I didn't realize at the time, they use the big logs on the bottom, and then they gradually get bigger, smaller, the higher they go. So the inside, they kept that straight and level. But the outside, it made it shape just a little bit at an angle. You can imagine that the logs changed, as they got narrower to keep the inside straight. Anyway, the house was built a little bit like that. So I went ahead and started negotiating with them. I didn't get a realtor. I used that realtor. The realtor was trying to sell it, but he wasn't trying very hard. That sign was laying in the mud. And come to find out, that house had been for sale for quite a while. And it had been sold about every 5 or 7 years. It had changed owners. So I went inside and looked at it, and it did have a bathroom, but not much of one. It was pretty messed up. And but I noticed that he'd put in, whoever owned it, had put in new flooring, and it was waterproof flooring. Well, lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, they called me up and said he'll take that offer. Anyway, make a long story short, I ended up buying this place. So here's what I saw when I bought it. So I'm going to give you a little video. I didn't do a very good job of videoing. Actually, most of the videos I have are like a week or two after the closing, and I'd already went in there and done a little bit of work, but not very much. So here's the video, and if people seem interested, I'll go ahead and make videos as I'm fixing it up. But if not, yeah, it's okay. But I'm gonna have this house, this cabin on the lake. It's basically a real log cabin. It's not hewn with axes, but it's bolted together actually. When I didn't know that at the time, but it is. Anyway, here's the video. If I get any comments or anything like that, I'll go ahead and try to document or show you the documentation of fixing it up. Okay, I started making videos just to document kind of my life. I'm too lazy to write a book. So here it is. Comment if you can. Subscribe if you can. You're going to laugh at me for buying this thing because it's a dump. I mean, it's bad. This is one of the worst places. I've never lived in a place as bad as this. But I got it at the right price, or my price. I don't know if it was the right price.